I think as the country becomes more diverse, as more people demand a seat at the table to be fully a part of this inclusive participatory democracy, there are some people in the country that are uncomfortable with that idea. The tenor of the country, what the country looks like in terms of race and religion, political orientation, and for some that's uncomfortable. And I think some of that shows up in the presidency of Donald Trump. For those who support President Trump, some, like my neighbors, are pretty clear that they want the country to be as it was in the 1950s when they were growing up. They have a memory of that time as a bit more idyllic, a bit more stable, and they're nostalgic for that time. Things seem to be less complicated for them. That's just the narrative I hear. I say in friendliness, because we're neighbors, good neighbors, that, in the 1950s, well, that was the height of Jim Crow for us, so it wasn't the best of times for us, and so how do we bring these two narratives together? And I think that showed up when President Trump came to Jamestown a few weeks ago to commemorate this 400th year since the first governing assembly. I think there were people protesting who felt that this is not a person who actually respects democratic norms and institutions. Of course, President Trump's supporters might disagree with that assessment. The protesters had their own take about that this was a person who doesn't really fully engage with democratic norms and processes. And I say all that to say, not to take a partisan take, but to point to the fact that there are competing ideas of where we are as a democracy and where we're going, and who are the purveyors of democracy and who are the opponents of democracy. It's a very contested idea. And in some ways, we've been contesting these ideas of who's a full citizen, who has full rights, whose rights to supersede others. We've been having these discussions and debates since 1619.